Good evening, everybody. This is Cinnamon Noir. And yes, it's the Let's Play that wouldn't die, just like Dracula. We are actually going to come back to see the one interesting thing that happens when you finish the game. One thing that you can do is you can start a New Game Plus, which I think I referenced in the actual Let's Play. Kind of a cool thing to do, but there's something that's even better, which is if you start a properly new game, you can play as Julius, which the game informs you once you've beaten the game for the first time. All you have to do is enter his name into the character select screen, and you will start the game as him. This is a really cool alternate mode. Oh, by the way, we've seen this before, so we're just gonna skip through all this. Pay no attention to the text crawl behind the curtain. Doesn't mean anything. And funnily enough, they start the game with this even though this is Julius mode, and Julius Belmont doesn't have anything to do with this. Kind of a weird thing. I mean, Julius mode is sort of an additional extra, so it makes sense that since this is just a minor modification of the original story, the prologue is still the same, but you'd think they could code it so that it wouldn't actually play the prologue. Anyway, here we are with Julius. Julius is a bit of a curiosity because he starts the game being super strong. You'll notice he already has 800 HP, and a pretty big magic bar, and access to all of his cool little tools, like the cross and the holy water and the axe. He also has the Grand Cross, which is something he showed off during the boss fight with Soma. And from the very beginning, he can soar through the air and rush around. He also has a really cool backdash, which, unlike Soma's, it's not really a backdash. It's more like swooping or teleporting around enemies. You'll literally phase right through them. Because that's just how good Julius is at fighting. I have forgotten if Julius can actually even level up at all. I think this power is maybe what he has through the entire experience. Julius mode is interesting because it puts the game on an entirely different basis. Instead of the emphasis being on using souls and leveling up so that you can face enemies, the emphasis here is much more on clever positioning and fighting using your subweapons. So basically it makes the game a lot more like a traditional Castlevania, where rather than constantly increasing in power, you start the game with a lot of power, and the question is how clever you're going to be about using it. So you may be wondering, like, what am I doing playing Julius mode in this? I'm not seriously going to go through the entire game this way. One, because we've already seen it all before, and in fact in Julius mode there's even less, because there's no story, there's no, there's lots of stuff that doesn't appear because Julius is who he is and not Soma. Oh yeah, we took out that boss pretty quick. So the part we're actually going to do should be a total cakewalk, because look how powerful we are already. So, you might be asking yourself, if he's not going to play through the whole game again, what the heck is he going to do? And I should think a little reflection will make it obvious. So, what is the one point in the original playthrough of this game where I acted like a total chump, and I got punked, died, saw the game over screen, and looked like I didn't know how to play this game? It was obviously the fight against death in the clock tower. So what am I going to do? I'm going back to the clock tower as Julius, and I'm going to push his nose in for him. Because I've taken enough of his guff, to be perfectly honest. So that's what we're going to do. In this very short little section, we're just going to basically go up as far as I can go. One of the cool things about Julius mode is you don't have to go through the game the way you did in the original. Julius, with having the soaring hippogriff jump from the very beginning, can really go wherever he wants from the very beginning. And any enemies you want to fight against to see how Julius fares against them, you can do it very quickly. Anyway, I'm just heading through the castle hallway right now. Fighting some peeping eyes and skeletons. And not really doing a great job. No, but what I'm trying to do, obviously, is get to the clock tower. We get to see some more of the really cool aesthetics in this hallway. I've always liked this game's use of foreground and background, so even though the graphics aren't quite as interesting as Harmony of Dissonance, one cool thing is that you get to see the contrast between the architectural elements that reach off into the background and make the castle look really big in sort of every dimension, and the foreground stuff, which looks more cartoonish. It's sort of like the difference between old animations with their painted backdrops that look watercolory, and then the actual cartoon characters who, of course, have these very sharp colors and sharp outlines and really distinctive colors. Oh man, I got hit by needles. That's a bad omen. How am I going to do well against death if a needles can screw me over? So, stopping briefly by the save point. I also figured on the way up to the clock tower I would stop by Soma's old stomping grounds in the Hanging Gardens. And apparently I'm doing really badly against the lightning dolls. I guess I never noticed this in the main playthrough, but apparently they have a lot of elemental weakness, so if you're just fighting them with a physical weapon like the vampire killer, it doesn't do much good at all. So here we go, I'm going to take a little look at the gardens. Floating Garden. I always mess up the name of this place. I think I kept calling it the Floating Labyrinth in the Let's Play. I don't know what's going on with my brain. So yeah, let's see our good old friend the Kicker Skeleton. Because Julius can kick on his own. You know, it turns out in this game, white men can kick. But we should still see how well we do against him. Or maybe I was just going for the save point. Sometimes I astound even myself. I forgot, of course, that when you go in the other direction from here, you actually don't reach the same room that you were when you went through the other way. So I get a little lost here. I have trouble finding directions. Julius is not the kind of guy who looks like he asks for directions, I have to admit. I do also have to say, while I like Julius's sprite a lot, it is pretty simple compared with his character portrait. Like, there's no evidence of the fact that he's wearing a leopard skin collar. So, it's not quite as cool, because of course, while you're playing as him, you don't see any cutscenes. So, ironically, in Julius mode, you never get to see Julius to best advantage, which is with his beautiful character portrait. That's just the way it goes. Ah, that moon. You do see a lot of different glimpses of the moon in the Aria of Sorrow. It's rather soothing, I'd say. You know, the moon is supposed to be kind of a creepy figure. But as I go through this game, and honestly a lot in real life as well, I've always found the moon to be very soothing. You may have noticed that even though I said Julius starts out the game pretty strong, we're really not that strong. We're not even close to as strong as a fully powered Soma would be, in terms of just our basic attack. You'll notice it takes us 2 hits to get rid of a red crow, which is not a very powerful enemy. I'm not sure if we can even kill an imp in 1 hit. So really, playing the game in this mode, it depends not so much on just sheer damage output from your weapon, as it does on cleverly using sub-weapons. Because unlike Soma with his souls, Julius' sub-weapons can add up to a lot of damage very quickly, which is what makes them very useful. The other thing about Julius is that boss battles with him tend to last a little longer, because it's not that he does so much damage, as that he's very good at avoiding damage. He has that dashing ability, or I should say the kind of phasing ability, which allows him to avoid most enemy attacks. Which, one of the coolest things about Julius mode, obviously, is that Julius is using the same abilities that he used against you when he was a boss fight in the main campaign. So that dashing move is something that we've seen him do, and when he does it, he is definitely damn hard to hit. But can he face up to and defeat death? That's the real question. Because that's something no man is supposed to be able to do. They say there's only 2 inevitable things in this world, and that's death and taxes. They haven't had a Castlevania game where you fight taxes yet, but I think that would be cool. So just make it past the bomber armor, who is every bit as much of an annoyance in this as he was when I played through the first time. Harpies are a little bit more of an annoyance, because Julius's attack isn't as good against them as Soma's was. But on the other hand, he can head up through these areas much better than Soma could the first time he came here. So really, it's sort of a wash. One nice thing about Julius is kind of like the Belmonts in earlier games when you got the 2 and 3 power-ups. Julius can throw out multiples of his sub-weapons at any given time, which is something you're definitely going to have to use if you want to go through this whole game with Julius, because he doesn't level up. So here we go. We are going to fight death, and this time I'm going to show just how good I am at this game when I'm not being hindered by, you know, Soma's crummy souls. So right off the bat here, I'm off to a pretty good start. I get hit by that 1 scythe, but, you know, a few hits are tolerable. Julius doesn't have any healing items, but on the other hand, he can avoid damage much more easily. So for instance, this attack, I can literally just phase through it. I don't even need to worry about running myself out of room. So I'm doing okay, you know? We maybe have about a third of his health taken care of. I still have about 2/3 of my health. So we're even. We're trading shot for shot. Things are going alright. This is going to be so cool when I actually beat him. Oh, look. I have more than half my health, and he's down to half of his. Piece of cake. Let's see how well you do against my axes, Death. The only two certain things in life are death and axes, as they say. So we'll fight one with the other. There we go. See, this is the best I've played against Death in a long time. Things are going great. And Julius can move so quick, right, that he can get out of the way of that attack much easier than Soma. Oh, no. Okay, not doing so well. We're having a little trouble there. But I'm ducking, and this is not working at all, is it? Oh my gosh. Yep. And so, we found out just how good I am at this game. What a great game this is. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I'm very glad that I uploaded this bonus video.